It's a Six on Your Side Live showdown in our Commitment 2006 debates. Who will win your vote to represent you in Eastern New Orleans and the lower Ninth Ward? From Studio B at the WDSU Broadcast Center in New Orleans, Six is on Your Side Live. Good evening, I'm Norman Robinson. It's the second of three nights with a large number of candidates who want to take Cynthia Willard Lewis's seat as the District E representative on the City Council. All 10 candidates were invited to join us, and a computer randomly determined which three candidates are here tonight and their speaking order. Each candidate will be allowed to make a 30-second opening statement. All answers in the debate are also restricted to 30 seconds. When the time expires, a fighting bell like that will ring and you're done, gentlemen. And viewers, please tell us which candidate you think is doing the better job. Log on to WDSU.com and vote on our Six on Your Side live web poll. Let's get started now with opening statements. The first candidate, Mr. Myron Mitchell, a Democrat.
Yes, my name is Myron Mitchell. I'll bring a very unique perspective to this office. I have the technical skills to solve technical problems and the people skills to solve people problems. I know how to lead and I know how to follow. I also know when each is required. I have a vision for New Orleans to bring District E back to prominence. I have the energy for the long and difficult days we face. We're at a crossroads in District E. Do you want to go back to where you were before Katrina?
Thank you. Mr. Wayne Johnson, Independent, your opening statement, sir.
Yes, I'd like to first thank the 10% of the voters that has voted for me in the past. I've made several bids for office. I am here again because of the leadership. I've dabbled in politics for the past 20 years, have not seen a difference in any aspect. And at this point, with the Katrina incident, things are now, it's the time to build a new New Orleans.
Thank you. And now, Mr. Sean Lockett, Democrat.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. My name is Sean Lockett, and if I am elected as your city councilman, I intend to be the liaison and the catalyst to reignite all principal components of our district. I intend to push for safety, including but not exclusive to closing the MRGO. I intend to aid all citizens of District E to return, to help acclimate them back to their lives. I intend to meet with the principals of every school in our district, whether or not they are charters or not. I do intend to make myself available to businesses.
Thank you, gentlemen. So far, so good. Now to the questions. In this round, I'll ask each candidate the same question. I reserve the right to ask a follow-up question after each candidate's response. If I ask a follow-up, you also have 30 seconds to reply. Mr. Mitchell, you are first. The question is, what is your plan to keep the majority of your district from becoming a place where people can't rebuild their homes?
Well, Mr. Robinson, a big part of the $150,000 buyout is centered in allowing folks to get the buyout money and then preventing them from rebuilding their homes. A very strong effort that I'm going to put forward is to keep people, or to really bring home the fact that they need not sell their property at this time. They need to sit and be patient and before they sell their property and cannot no longer rebuild on that property.
Mr. Johnson, what is your plan to keep the majority of your district from becoming a place where people cannot rebuild their homes?
For people that will not build their homes?
What is your plan to keep the majority of your district from becoming a place where people won't be allowed to rebuild their homes?
Yeah. Basically, it's very simple. Just tell the people, come home. Don't wait for the decisions of the so-called upper people there. Come home. Come home now, make your stand, and let's stand together, and we'll stop this from being a place where we won't have to come home.
But where are they going to come home to if they have no place to stay, Mr. Johnson?
I'm going to start a man camp. A man camp where the men can come here and start redoing their homes so their wives can come home.
Mr. What is your plan to keep the majority of your district from becoming a place where people can't rebuild their homes?
My plan is to work with City Council as much as possible to be vocal as possible about the needs of the people who are away. and let them know that different neighborhoods are intending to get back. For instance, I've been going to different neighborhood meetings, and people are actually coming together and they're talking about specific problems that they have. And if we stick together as a community and we start to actually enrich our neighborhoods by demanding certain things being done, like lights being turned on, trash pickup and whatnot, I believe that being vocal, that's definitely the way to do that.
Thank you. What is your recommendation to keep the city from spiraling into bankruptcy, or is bankruptcy a practical option, Mr. Mitchell?
Well, one thing we need to do is we need to fix the infrastructure, continue the efforts we have to get city services back up and running. Once we get the city services back up and running, we can attract folks to come back into the city. We can get our tax base going. District E represents over 40% of the tax base of the city. As such, we need to get our people back here so that we can get the city moving again.
Mr. Johnson.
It's basically based on how much time we have to make it happen. If we have the time to make it happen, then we can do these things that Mitch is talking about and start the economy going again. If the time sequence won't allow it, then we're gonna have to do what we have to do to go bankrupt. And then if you go bankrupt, then you have to go ahead and restart the city as it is again. So either way it go, you got to restart the city. So if you're bankrupt or not.
Mr. Lockett, what will be your recommendation?
I think that it's going to be necessary for us to look to the state to get financing, possibly loans and everything else, in order to get some people back. And then once we're able to get some people back, that will be our tax base that will allow us to pay for the different things that we're looking to do in our community at this time.
And Mr. Mitchell, what is your position on the governor's recovery plan, and how is it likely to affect your district?
Well, the governor's recovery plan also calls for what they're considering a reduced footprint in New Orleans. I'm totally opposed to a reduced footprint. The reduced footprint is counter to what I think we need to do. What we need to do is get city services up and running so that we can get housing back online, bring people back, get some stores open in District E, get the schools up and running. We have to get schools open. Get the essential things going again so that we can get people to come back in the city.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson.
I'm not too much up on the governor's plan. I have my own plan. I do believe that Eastern New Orleans, the 9th Ward, needs to become its own municipality. We've been treated like a stepchild for the past 20 years. I mean, it's time we separate ourselves from New Orleans, become Eastern New Orleans. And what it takes to do that, I'd like to get some people to take a look into that to see what it would actually take to make that happen. But I do know we need to separate ourselves from
Thank you. Mr. Lockett.
Yes, I think the governance plan is noble. However, I think we do need more funds, and I think that what's going to be needed is for us to lobby for more funds from the federal government specifically to get things rolling a little more than what her incentive is looking for at this time.
Okay, gentlemen, specifically, where in your district is it not safe to rebuild for homeowners and businesses right now?
Well, I've heard the Bring Back New Orleans Commission speak about some low-lying places in New Orleans East. Guess what? New Orleans in general is the low-lying place. So if you want to talk about low-lying places, the whole city of New Orleans shouldn't be rebuilt. That's not the right answer. The right answer is we can create a water management system to protect this city. That's what we need to do. We need to make the federal government fix us. They broke us. We need to be put back together again.
All right, understanding that we're still broken, Mr. Johnson, where in your district is it not safe to rebuild for homeowners and businesses right now?
According to the EPA, nowhere is safe. The contaminants in the air and the earth in the ground and stuff like that, but everything is coming back. The animals are coming back, the birds, the bees, everything is coming back, so the people need to come back too. And every place is safe because you become immune to mostly everything anyway.
Mr. Lockett?
I don't feel that any place in particular is unsafe to build at this time. There are certain areas that had flooding on a regular basis before that. I think smart building is the key. Building in a way so that we don't have to deal with these types of things anymore. Making sure that our levees are up to standard, making sure that our drainage is good enough to sustain flood waters as they come in.
Not your ordinary debate. We're getting ready to shake things up when the candidates get to question each other and see what questions you want answered. Your topics, your questions, getting you answers. This is 6 on Your Side Live. It's a Six on Your Side live showdown. Every candidate in all the big races. Tonight, the New Orleans City Council District E race, representing the 9th Ward and Eastern New Orleans. Now on to round 2, where the viewers and the candidates get to ask the questions. First, to the viewer questions. They're submitted by you and then selected by our staff. A computer randomly determined the order they'd be asked. Candidates, again, 30 seconds for your answers. And let's start with Mr. Mitchell. And here's the question from Monique. And Monique wants to know, what are your plans, Mr. Mitchell, to reopen schools in District E, since you talked about that?
Well, the plan to reopen schools in District E, because the state took over the schools, it is incumbent on them to reopen the schools. We, as a city council person, I would have to go to Baton Rouge. I'll get a march together and organized. We need to get Baton Rouge to get off their seats, to get off their butts, and get busy opening schools. It's been proven that citizen groups have tried to go and start doing work on the buildings that the state's not putting work into. So that aspect is probably not a way to do it, but we'd have to get some...
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. And Mr. Johnson, your question comes from Danny. And Danny wants to know, if elected to the city council, who among the candidates for mayor would you most like to work with? That's a good one, isn't it?
Thanks, Dan. It really doesn't matter. The mayor...
No, answer his question. Who would you like to work with? Who among the candidates would you like to work with?
All right, who I would like to work with? I would probably like to work with Ray, because the fact that he's been through everything that from beginning to end with the city, and we're gonna need somebody that's gonna pick up, you know, you get there that can fill you in on everything, and not somebody that don't know everything. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Lockett, here's your question from Sheila. How do you propose to get homeowners to return to their homes when the city and government officials have basically given us a deaf ear to the problems right in front of their eyes?
Well, first of all, like I said earlier, we need to actually speak for the people and find out exactly what the people want. We need to find a way to maybe establish some type of vote for people who are away, not just for the candidates, but for the different decisions that are being made. At that time, I think that we would have a better understanding of what the needs are specifically, because some people do not intend to come back. However, those who do intend to come back, we really should present a forum for them to express themselves first, and then I think that we'd probably be better prepared to answer that question.
All right, thank you. And now the candidates ask the questions. In each rotation, the candidate chooses which one of his opponents will answer his question. The question can be no longer than 15 seconds in length, and answers, as always, 30 seconds or less. Let's start with Mr. Mitchell. Who are you asking, and what is your question?
I'll ask...
Sean?
No,
Mr. Lockett.
Mr. Lockett, what would you do to get the schools and the system back together?
What I would do to get the schools and the system back together, first of all, would be to establish a one-on-one relationship with each principal of the schools, as I said earlier, whether they are charter schools or not, and find out specifically from the schools what they need on an individual basis, and then take what they tell me to City Council and try to get something done there, and hopefully we can get enough momentum behind us so that we can go to the state and maybe get something going that way.
And Mr. Johnson, who would you like to ask a question of?
Actually, I have no questions for these gentlemen here, because I'm sure that, you know, they cannot do it by themselves. Whatever I ask them is pretty much null and void, because of the fact that it's going to take everybody involved to make whatever happens that needs to be happening. It takes everybody involved, and one question to them is not going to, you know.
So you don't think that the power of one? You don't believe in the power of one? You don't believe that that an individual can make a difference?
Oh yeah, I'm a testimony to the individual making a difference, because I've been in that was making that difference. But the fact that I'm saying is, the political process involved here in asking him a question, or Sean a question, is you know, to me, it's, you know, it's not important right now.
Or do you have a question, or you can't think of a question?
No, I have no question for them.
You have no question for them. Thank you. Mr. Lockett, your question.
My question goes to Mr. Myron Mitchell. What do you feel would be the most important things to take care of in the Lower Ninth Ward at this time?
Number one is we don't have potable water in the Lower Ninth Ward. Potable water is something that's absolutely necessary before anyone can come back into that area. We cannot get FEMA trailers back there. The folks whose homes were not damaged and destroyed cannot get back into their homes because there is no water for drinking, there's no water for bathing. That's number one on the list.